Imagine waking up to the roar of helicopters sweeping circles over your roof, sirens wailing down the block, and the thunderous crash of SWAT boots pounding against your front door, all before you even get a sip of morning coffee. You'd probably wonder, did I accidentally end up starring in some chaotic crime docu-series? Nope. This madness was my actual morning, courtesy of the one and only HOA Karen. The kind of neighbor who thinks she's the unofficial mayor, the neighborhood FBI, and the resident detective all rolled into one. It all kicked off on what should have been the most ordinary Tuesday imaginable. I was still in my pajamas, halfway through a bowl of cereal, scrolling past bills I refused to emotionally acknowledge when a deafening knock detonated through the house. And not the usual loud. I mean the kind of knock that screams someone is gearing up to raid a classified government bunker. I peeked out the window, half bracing for aliens, but instead saw a full lineup of SWAT officers aiming rifles at my front door. And right there behind them stood Karen, gripping her clipboard like she'd just been promoted to executive director of neighborhood nitpicking. I'd always known Karen was something else. She obsessed over lawns, fence heights, and who parked 2 inches past the curb like she was analyzing national crimes. But calling SWAT on me for running a drug ring? My home looked aggressively normal. Couch, coffee table, 3 mismatched throw pillows that screamed discount aisle, and my cat, Mr. Fluffers, who instantly sensed danger because cats apparently have SWAT radar. Karen had filed a report claiming my home was a major drug distribution center. Her exact words. If eating cereal is a felony in her imagination, then I guess I'm guilty. But here's where it really escalated. The SWAT team wasn't there for casual questioning. They had warrants, helmets, full tactical gear, the entire action movie entrance package. Honestly, my mailman breaks more of a sweat delivering my overdue notices than I did standing there in shock. As they stormed inside, I tried to remain calm, thinking, okay, this is a mix-up. Maybe they want a tour of my prize garden gnomes. Spoiler, they absolutely did not. They tore through every inch of the house. The living room, the kitchen, even the closet stuffed with my ancient 2017 Halloween costumes. And just as I started explaining that the only green in my home was a dying fern I'd nearly killed twice, an officer shouted something that froze my veins. We found something. And there she was, Karen, crouched behind my sofa holding a tiny bag, pretending she had just discovered it lying there. The nerve. It was like watching a live sitcom unfold, except this one featured bulletproof vests and actual legal stakes. She tried to look surprised, but everyone could tell she'd staged the whole thing like some wannabe spy from the bargain shelf of a dollar store action movie. My heart was thudding. My cat had vanished on the bed, and it hit me. I wasn't living in ordinary suburbia anymore. I was trapped in a full-scale HOA horror comedy production. And the funniest part? The SWAT team, moments ago deadly serious, were now staring at Karen like she'd attempted the lamest magic trick on record. By the time the raid wrapped up, the officers uncovered the truth. Karen had planted evidence in my home. Seriously, who even does that? Only someone whose personal slogan must be, if I can't control my own chaos, I'll theatrically control everyone else's. And honestly, I couldn't help laughing, because in the moment it was terrifying, but in hindsight, it was outrageously ridiculous. The takeaway? Never underestimate an HOA Karen with a clipboard, a vivid imagination, and 0 personal boundaries. And always check that your houseplants aren't being framed for crimes. You assume the madness ends after SWAT leaves, right? Wrong. That's when things spiral completely off the rails. I stood in my living room, trying to comprehend the fact that my house had been raided. My cat had lived through a tactical invasion, and Karen had officially crossed into delusional criminal territory. But I had no clue she had a sequel planned. And this one was going to be even more outrageous. Even more unhinged sequel. The very next morning, I jolted awake to a tidal wave of notifications. Emails, calls, texts, even a few messages from people I forgot existed. Turns out, Karen had taken to social media the way a magpie attacks anything shiny. She'd uploaded these overly dramatic, breaking news-style videos where she claimed she had single-handedly protected the neighborhood from a gigantic drug cartel located in my house. And there I was, tagged everywhere, looking like the villain of a show I never agreed to star in. My phone was vibrating so nonstop, I nearly contacted an exorcist for malfunctioning electronics. Trying not to lose my mind, I decided to get out of the house, grab a coffee, breathe oxygen that wasn't infused with stress, and remind myself I was a law-abiding citizen. But the moment I stepped outside, something felt off. A tiny camera was glued to my mailbox. A literal surveillance device pointed straight at my front door. I stared at it in disbelief, wondering if I had accidentally wandered into a budget spy thriller or the trauma of yesterday had driven me into hallucinating hardware. I called my friend to vent. Bro, SWAT raided me yesterday, and now Karen's acting like she's filming her own crime documentary. He laughed so hard I heard the nasal snort echo through the speaker. Dude, film it. This is YouTube Platinum. And that's when it clicked. He wasn't wrong. If life hands you HOA-level insanity, monetize the chaos. Meanwhile, Karen was accelerating. Apparently, planting evidence once didn't satisfy her inner supervillain. She was now mailing letters to neighbors, warning them about the dangerous mastermind living beside her. She even handed out pamphlets. Actual pamphlets. My cat, Mr. Fluffers, was now permanently cowering under bed, convinced we were moments from annihilation. Then came the ultimate circus act, the community meeting. Somehow, Karen had persuaded the HOA board to host an emergency session about me. I walked in expecting applause from my imaginary criminal empire. Instead, I got a fully staged performance. Karen stood at the podium, waving her clipboard like it was Excalibur, delivering a dramatic retelling of my crimes with the intensity of an overenthusiastic theater major. The room went dead silent. Right before it erupted, a retired lawyer neighbor who lived for courtroom drama began interrogating her like she was on trial in front of the Supreme Court. Karen stumbled, panicked, and accidentally admitted she had planted the evidence. The entire room gasped, then burst into laughter, mostly aimed at me, because honestly, you could not write a better sitcom. Karen's face drained of color faster than someone who just realized they took a sip of spoiled milk. And just when I thought the absurdity had peaked, the local news caught wind. Suddenly, my home's great drug bust became headline material. Reporters gathered outside, microphones ready, cameras rolling, while Karen attempted to defend herself live, looking like a confused cat trying to imitate a dog. It was painful and hypnotizing all at once. By day's end, the neighborhood knew the truth. SWAT had been duped. My home was as innocent as my half-dead houseplant, and Karen had obliterated every boundary possible. To top it off, the internet had already crowned her Karenzilla, and the memes were spreading faster than her nonsense ever could. I couldn't stop laughing. Some people handle chaos quietly. I, apparently, get a full Hollywood comedy featuring my neighbor and her deranged imagination. Lesson number 2. If an HOA Karen targets you, brace yourself for a spectacle. Document everything, stay calm, and maybe invest in a cat with a better sense of survival. Because honestly, Mr. Fluffers walked through a SWAT raid, fake evidence, and social media meltdown without shedding a single whisker. Just when I thought the madness couldn't escalate further, life, or more accurately, Karen, decided to crank the dial straight past 10. You'd assume after SWAT involvement, stage contraband, and a whole neighborhood scandal, she'd finally take the cosmic hint. But not Karen. Absolutely not. She had grander schemes, and apparently the universe's rules no longer applied to her. It kicked off with a knock that felt foreboding enough to summon dread. At first, I assumed it was a package delivery, or maybe a sane neighbor offering sympathy after chaos. No such luck. It was Karen, dressed in what could only be described as tactical I'm-on-a-mission gear. Picture cargo pants, massive dark sunglasses, and a whistle dangling from her neck purely for theatrics. She claimed she was conducting safety patrols. But judging by the death grip on her clipboard and the wildfire in her eyes, it was obvious she was auditioning to be the villain in some off-brand action film. The next absurd twist came when she attempted to prove I was still a criminal. She had, unbelievably, escalated her antics. Karen had planted yet another staged drug drop in my yard, like some twisted scavenger hunt nobody asked for, and called the cops once again. Meanwhile, I was inside, watching from behind the blinds and trying not to choke on popcorn because the entire ordeal was turning into actual cinema. Thankfully, the SWAT officers had learned their lesson from round one. They showed up cautiously, only to arrive just in time to witness Karen waving a bag of completely harmless seasonings like she'd uncovered a cartel stash. By then, the neighborhood was fully tuned into the drama. Kids peeked through fence panels, dogs barked in solidarity, and someone even live-streamed the chaos, sending it viral within minutes. Comments poured in at lightning speed. HOA, Karen returns. Is this a sitcom or the news? Get a reality show ASAP. Meanwhile, Karen was so immersed in her delusion that she started narrating her own hero mission for the cameras, never noticing that the evidence she held smelled distinctly like Italian seasoning. Then came the ultimate comedy punchline. After confirming there was no threat, the SWAT officers decided to gently snap Karen back to reality. One officer quietly set up a decoy sting with a fake bag filled with flour, glitter, and a rubber chicken. Karen, thinking she had caught me in the act, sprinted toward it. The moment the bag burst in her hands, flour clouding everywhere, glitter sticking to her oversized sunglasses, and the chicken dramatically bouncing across the lawn, was pure, unfiltered comedy. The neighborhood erupted. Kids howled with laughter, adults clapped, and for the first time all week, I stepped outside feeling like I was a moment away from another raid. Once the chaos settled, the officers sat Karen down and, with professional patience, explained that faking evidence and filing false reports was a serious matter. She nodded silently, coated in flour and glitter, looking like a defeated yet comically tragic extra from a slapstick film. The HOA board began quietly backing away from her, suddenly realizing that having their own personal Karenzilla wasn't the greatest look for the community. What followed was surreal. I accidentally became the main character of a local legend. Mr. Fluffers basked in the attention like royalty. And Karen, well, Karen transformed into a meme goddess overnight. Every sidewalk conversation, social media thread, even the deli's daily sandwich special referenced her epic downfall. Honestly, if anyone doubted the phrase, truth is stranger than fiction, all they needed was front row seats to Karen's suburban doom spiral. So looking back, the moral isn't just don't cross an HOA Karen. It's also about surviving mayhem with humor, documenting every ridiculous moment, and recognizing that sometimes life hands you a live-action sitcom disguised as a neighborhood conflict. I mean, how many people can say they've endured a SWAT raid, false allegations, staged evidence, and a glitter bomb, all in under a week? So next time you hear the words drug operation and neighborhood complaint in the same breath, remember my saga. And if you ever spot a Karen armed with a clipboard, sunglasses, and a tactical whistle, run, record, and brace yourself for the viral comedy of a lifetime. If this story gave you a laugh, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Every new subscriber fuels even more outrageous HOA tales. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss another chapter. I'll see you in the next story, where justice gets even sweeter.